As I can recall, there is this one phrase that I have known about for a couple of years now, and it's something that I stick by very, very closely. And that phrase is, I love education, but I hate school. And given that opening statement, you've probably guessed that I don't like school very much, and I don't. I really hated school. At least I hated latter years of school, and especially high school. Um, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I should probably start from the beginning. The way I started off school was not your typical average way of starting out school. From what mom told me, it was this learning center where they put me in a whole bunch of little situations, and depending on how well I did in those situations depended on which grade I would start out at. So I don't believe I've been to preschool or kindergarten. Um the school I'm referring to, the very first school that I've ever been to, is Beard School in Chicago. I went there for about 3 years, and by the time I got out, I was starting off at second grade. So, as far as I'm aware, I believe I had to have done very good, and at the same time, it's not the work that I remember the most. It's actually a lot of fond memories that I have from going to this school, whether it was spending time with the other students, seeing them interact with each other, going to and from each hallway and each class so I can do different activities, and even the lunchroom is kind of a secondhand memory to me. It was this wide rectangle shaped room, and as you're going in line to get your lunch, there's these windows where you could look outside, and it was a fairly nice view. I remember there was this big gym room where all of the kids played with some of the equipment that they had. One of the risque things that I kind of did with one of the other kids was we would climb all the way to the top of this climbing thing. I'm not sure what it's called, and we always made sure that we put this thing that would cushion our fall. I'm not sure what it was called, but it was big and red, and it was shaped like a rectangle. And we would shout yabba dabba doo as we jumped from the top and landed safely on that rectangle. You'd think that the teachers would have been paying more attention, but hey, I'm still living and breathing today, and I'm talking clearly, so nothing bad ever really happened to me or any of the other kids that were there. Oh, and another thing that we would do in that gym was we would get together with the teacher and we would shape our legs in the form of this little sitting position, and we would pretend to be butterflies. We were moving our knees up and down, our legs in some kind of fashion, and then they would say, "Hide, butterflies, hide!" And then we had to duck into our legs. I'm pretty sure it was a type of stretching exercise, and they were disguising it as a game to get the kids more immersed into it. That's actually very clever. I remember there were three main grades that I went to, or actually the three classes that I went to year from year. Um, it was actually so long ago that I don't really remember the names of the teachers, but they were all female, and they all seemed like very, very easygoing and patient people. I remember times when they would sometimes get into fights with the other students, and I don't remember myself getting into a lot of trouble with them. I always seemed to have a nice time when I was there. Even when I got into arguments with the other students, it never resulted in anything extensively bad happening. Like, I would just get into a fight, into a disagreement with them, and the next day it just kind of blew over and we got over it. I can remember a number of activities that we did, like we would sit around in chairs playing instruments, and we would have these little crowns put on our heads that were made of these foam pieces. We would do those little naps, the thing that you usually do when you're starting out at school. There were also these little stories that we did with these hand puppets. There was this puppet who had no eyes and a big nose and a black mustache and a smiley face. He wore this hat and a striped shirt that was probably blue and white. I don't remember it too well. We always enjoyed ourselves messing around with that puppet and learning about stories. We do some kind of story time with them. One of the embarrassing things, though, that I remember is that one time when we were doing an activity, I just felt this feeling in my nose, and I sneezed, and blood came out of my nose. So, oh my God, I was having a runny nose, and I sneezed blood. That was. I don't know why. It's just out of all the things that I could remember, that's something that I just remember very, very closely. There was this small playground that we would usually mess around with on the swings and on the slide and the jungle gym area and stuff like that. I remember there were these two kids that I always hung out with. One was white and one was African. I don't remember their names very well, but I remember that we always played together. Like, the African kid always had all of these toys, like the Power Ranger toys and all the action figures that I really, really wanted to play with. And, I remember that I would usually get into fights with him, like, we would get into arguments, these little disputes, and, it would result in him saying, "You're not gonna play with my toys," and so, fine, go ahead, just play your toys, I don't want them anyway. And then there was this one time where, after doing that, the teacher got the two of us together. She noticed that the two of us were arguing, and she helped us, she helped us put aside our differences and make up. And that's actually one of the nicer memories that I have. Like, I was able to make up with this kid despite that we were always fighting all the time, and we still had fun playing with each other. I remember there was even this song that we sang in the morning, like it went something like, "Good morning, good morning, good morning to you." And I don't remember how the rest of it goes. There was also these little Olympics at the end of the year or something like that, where we had to do all of these games, like throwing the bean bags or racing across this wide area at the back of the school. Like, I had to race like 60 other kids, and I was just sprinting as fast as I could to the other side, and we had to get to the wall. And by the time I just couldn't run anymore, and I was running out of breath. And by the time everyone else started touching the wall, I was kind of giving up halfway through, and then I just kind of ran from there. When they had to go all the way back from where they started, I just ran back from there, and even then I was out of breath. I wasn't that good. And after that, I just kind of sat by myself. I kind of felt disappointed that I didn't do very well. And when Dad came up to me sitting by myself, he asked me, "Hey son, what's wrong?" And I just shook my head and I said, "I couldn't win the final race." But he was there to get me back onto my feet, and he helped me walk over to the other kids, and I would finish playing with them. That's actually one of the other much better memories I had with my dad, despite how much of a screw up he was. God, I just wish I could remember more. It was just such an early phase in my life. I might have to ask Mom about it sometime. But the one thing that I remember most of all was my first crush. Her name was Gabriella. She had this ponytail hairstyle. She had brown hair. She always had this nice smile, and she wore these glasses. And I just kind of really wanted to get to know her. The problem with that was that she didn't really like being touched. Like, she always said, "No, no." And she actually got in trouble with the teacher at the time because she was just kind of always distancing herself from me and not being that nice to me. And now that I think about it, I think I should have been a little more considerate towards her personal space and her not liking being touched. I just wanted to hold her hand or play a game with her, give her a hug, And I don't know, for some reason, I just felt like I really, really wanted to connect with her. She was always so sweet and happy, and every time I got a chance to, I don't know, just see her, I would always be so excited. Like this one time when we were on a field trip, I didn't know she was there until I turned around. We were in this auditorium where they were doing this showcasing for something. In the auditorium, I looked behind me and I saw her on one of the higher chair rows, and I said, "Oh my God, look, look, there's Gabby." And it was just so, I was so awkward and I was so strangely interested in spending time with her. I just got so happy whenever I got a chance to speak with her and I got to spend time with her. In fact, on probably the last day that I was at Daniel C. Beard School, we were still doing those outdoor activities, like I'm not sure what it was called. So I wanted to take this chance because I didn't think I would get another opportunity to do this. I told her how much time we spent together and how I always enjoyed spending time with her. And I just held her hand. She didn't seem to mind very much. I think she got used to me after a while. I got down onto one knee. I looked up to her, holding her hand, and I asked her to marry me. Oh my God. I was such a silly kid back then. And you know what? The best part about that, her answer. Her answer was, "I think your mom is calling you." she, she never said yes or no. She just told me, "I think your mom is calling you." And I think she might have been telling the truth. It was just such an awkward experience. And now that I think back to it, I was just, I think I had to have been at least 6. I was only 6 years old when I asked another student to marry me, and it was just so cute. Now that I think back to it, it just was such a cute little thing. I remember I got to spend a little bit more time with her after I finished up at Beard School. I think I even got a chance to spend the night at her house. I think I remember I even had breakfast. I always told her that I liked her, and she just said that she just wasn't interested. And I can really respect that now that I've had a lot of time to think about it later in my life. I at some point, you know where this is going. It was sometime after we moved. I started seeing her less and less until finally I just stopped seeing her entirely. Like, at some point, I never saw her again. I don't even remember her address. It was just so long ago, and I don't really remember why I stopped seeing her. She was just such a fond memory from when I first started going to school, and even now, I just really appreciate that. And all the other times that I was at Beard School, I got to have fun with all the teachers, all the kids, and Gabby. And now it's about 20 years later. I haven't seen him since. Oh my God, I wonder how they're doing. Where are they now? I kind of think that to myself sometimes. Are they doing okay? I hope they are. It was just so long ago. I wonder if they'd even remember me, if I would even recognize them. You know what's sad is that I recently looked up Beard School because I just wanted to see if there has been any recent information on that school that I went to when I was first growing up. And what I found was that a couple of shitheads had drawn hateful slurs and slangs and graffiti onto the walls and windows of the school. Like, there was the symbol of the Nazis and retards because they think replacing S with Z is fucking cool. Now, I've heard about this type of stuff happening before where these ignorant people would draw graffiti onto a school, but To do that to a school that I grew up with, and especially a school with certain needs, that is just disgusting. I even just saw the news report on it, and this was something that happened last year in July of 2015. There was a story about a dad who was walking his son to the front of the school, and the son saw the graffiti, and he asked his dad, "What does that mean?" The dad literally had to lie to his kid. He couldn't tell him what any of that stuff meant. He wasn't old enough to understand. And fuck the assholes who did that. That is disgusting. Sometimes I think about going back because I've looked up my address and the address of the school on Google Maps. It's only 20 minutes from the house. Just if I could just get a chance to walk past it to just see how much of it has changed in 20 years. But they probably wouldn't allow me anywhere near it, even if I told them that I was a student that used to go there. Man, times have certainly changed. And while Beard School was a good first impression on school, the next school that I went to was horrendously fucking awful. It was Locke School. The other students were just so annoying. The teachers would occasionally misunderstand a few things. And then there's Miss Pope, that fucking Miss Pope. We'll get to her later. Basically, despite all that, there's actually some nice things that I remember from Locke School. I remember there was the library where it was this big rectangular area, and it was always a nice setting to go to. And we always would do a couple of nice things there. It was nice and quiet. The lunchroom was also really big. And I also got a chance to just sit in the corner and, just eat by myself. Sometimes I would eat with the other students. A lot of the times I would eat with the other students, but there were also a couple of times I just ate by myself. There was this little raffle that I got to do, and one time there was this everyone has fun day. I'm not sure what it was called. There was karaoke, there were games, there was pizza, and I love pizza. I think I love pizza too much. There was this one time when I was eating pizza, and I don't know, I was having a hard time swallowing it. I think I was actually choking, and I was just giving the signs that I had a hard time breathing, and one of the security guards actually had to give me the thing where you gotta push on their stomach, and I had to choke out the food. Yeah, that was not a very pleasant memory. I also remember that there was this early choir class that my mom signed me up for because she thought that I should try out for singing. And I actually felt a little self-conscious about singing at the time. And I always had to wake up very early in the morning. It was out of my comfort zone, and I didn't understand why Mom had to make me do this. Although there were a couple of nice things that came out of it. I got to go to this place like it was a retirement home, and we got to sing for all of the people that were there. One time we did it on Christmas, and we were rewarded with some candy canes and hot chocolate. It was a nice little thing. We would go outside and walk around the school. It was a little nice bit of exercise. One of the annoying things, though, is that we always had to wait outside. Like, there was this huge group outside the school at the back entrance, and we had to wait for them to open the doors. Sometimes it was really cold, and it was just really annoying being crowded up with all of those other people. And from what I remember, I was a fairly good student. Like, I would always get into the honor roll almost every single year. There was this one year I didn't get in, but all the other years I seemed to be like a reasonably good student if I had to have gotten into the honor roll somehow. So with all that in mind, you're probably thinking, what was so bad about Locke School? What made Locke School so horrendous was the harassment. The other students were always just so annoying and arrogant. They would do things to annoy me and each other and other students. I don't think I was a specific target because I don't think anyone took any sides in terms of the students. Like, everyone was annoying each other in some way. So it was just really, really annoying. And I can still remember a couple of things that happened to me specifically. There were these two kids that made fun of a folder that my mom made me bring to school, even though I told her that it wouldn't be a good idea. The choir that I was in was a bunch of kids that were especially just pricks. Like, they would constantly push me around when I was in the back row, and they always seemed like I was getting in their way somehow, and they were just offended by that. I think mom was just about to get off of her seat and just get me off stage because she really didn't like what was happening over there. I joined this after school chess club, and one of the students were chasing me across the room for some reason. I don't remember what it was. One time when we were walking around the school, one of the kids was just running past everybody and just hitting them across the head, and they ended up hitting me across the head too. I didn't take that very well. And atop of all that, the teachers and the staff just seemed incredibly stupid. Like, the bus driver wasn't taking care of any problems that were on the bus. The teachers were not paying too much good attention to the other students, and they would sometimes overreact to very little things, like even if someone just whistled very briefly to themselves, they just stopped everything just to find out who it was that whistled. And I remember there was this one kid who was sitting right next to an open window, and we were on the second floor of the building, which is pretty high. I'd had to say about 7-story fall. You'd think that the teachers would have taken more responsibility to prevent a student who just didn't seem very right in the head to be sitting next to an open window several feet from the ground, a fall that would have most likely killed him if anything had, I don't know, accidentally pushed him out. Thankfully, he wasn't pushed out. And when I say that the bus driver wouldn't do anything, I mean there was this one time when a kid thought that I was sitting in his seat, and he just started whacking me with his backpack, just telling me to get off my seat. And even as I was walking away, he whacked me in the back with his backpack, just that little fucking shithead. And I don't remember the bus driver doing anything about it. A disturbing thing that I found out about, though, was that one time, one Friday, when me and Miranda didn't go to school, we were staying home because I think we were sick or something, a kid brought a knife onto the school bus. And I don't know who it was or why they did it, but that was just incredibly dangerous. And that I was just hearing now about something like that happening. That was just incredibly nerving. Like, I'm actually very lucky that me and Miranda didn't go that time because I could only imagine what could have happened if me and Miranda were at a bad position at the time that the kid brought the knife onto the bus. As far as I remember, nobody got hurt, but just finding out about something like that. And there was this other story about that was told to us by our music teacher. He told us about the time when a girl was getting bullied by these two other kids. So yeah, it's not just me. Everyone at the school all the students had a gripe with each other for some reason. This girl was just getting harassed by these other students until she finally just brought a knife to school to end it. And thankfully she was stopped before anything happened, but she was expelled. Like, she could not come back. And understandably so. Like, if I'm hearing stories about kids bringing knives to this school, like, this was happening in the 1990s. That this was apparently before it became a more well known, or if it was happening more often. Apparently, it must have been really bad and very uncomfortable to think about. Just thinking about kids bringing these knives to school without their parents knowing that they're sneaking them out. I am just so lucky and thankful that nothing bad ever happened to me or my sister. And then there's a certain Miss Pope. And she was the biggest fucking sack of shit. Mom thought that I would need a tutor or an assistant to help me learn things in school or stay focused on my work because I'm known to fiddle with my equipment. Like, I would play around with my pencil or my eraser or with my pencil sharpener and the pencil shavings, and sometimes it would distract me from my work. But again, I got onto the honor roll, so as far as I know, I was smart enough to get an education. Even then, Miss Pope was just the most arrogant, stupid woman to ever have associated me in anything related to school. She was in no way qualified to assist or tutor any student. If I tried to do my homework ahead of time, then she would threaten to tear it into pieces in front of the class. If she ever believed that I was out of line, she forced me to stand up in my seat and she yelled, "Hey, everyone, let's look at this kid and see him make a fool of himself." And then I just froze because she was just that arrogant to get me to focus on whatever it was that I was supposed to be doing, even though I was apparently doing good on my own without her telling me what I can and can't do. She was always screaming and shouting and yelling at me. And if there were any particular situations where she thought I was out of line, she would force me out of the room and she would take me to this upper floor where there was this little brown room where you would do nothing but just sit at a desk. And she always had extremely dumb reasons for disciplining me too. Like, even if I was in the bathroom and I closed a door too hard, she would make it so that I couldn't go out for recess and enjoy myself with the other kids. You know, even if there wasn't much to enjoy with the other kids. She was always so completely out of line and taking things too far. It made me very anxious every single morning I had to go to school, knowing that she was going to be there waiting to spy on me. Like, I would always just hesitate to go into the classroom, and I knew that I would eventually have to go inside and I would have to be ready for whatever she did to me. She is basically one of the reasons why I became so anxious and against school. Like, just every single thing, like, every problem that I had in future schools was directly embodied by Miss Pope, and she was just so full of it. And I am so glad I don't have to put up with her anymore. I don't know what the hell she's doing with her life, and I don't know where she is right now, but wherever she is and whatever she's doing, man, I just hope something bad happens to her. There were only two things about Locke School that I really liked. The first one was that I got to be in the school Christmas play. I got to play as one of the elves. I got to sing and I got to dance, and I actually got to improvise some of my body language. Like, one of the lines was, "It sounded like no," so I scratched the back of my head. Like, even the director thought that it was good improvising with my body language because I was really acting out the character that I was at the time. And it was just very nice. I even remember how I know that my mom and my dad were in the audience, and I wanted to see them really badly. Like, if an actor lost a piece of their costume, they would do this little huddle where they had to search for the missing part of the costume. I actually hid my hat intentionally inside one of the desks, and I said, "Excuse me, miss, I lost my hat." And I thought that it would be a distraction for me to go see my mom and dad before the play started because I just really wanted to see them in my costume and how they were enjoying the play so far. So, As soon as I told the teacher that I was missing something and she informed everyone else, I was just making my way to the door when a student suddenly found my uniform. It was it was a really silly attempt and it was a failure asking to happen. But on the other hand, I still got to be in a play and I really enjoyed being a part of that play. Like I got to sing, I got to dance, and I actually did everything perfectly to a T. And I wonder if I would ever get another chance to do something like that. Another thing that I really liked about Locke School was the principal, Mr. Malik. He just seemed like a very stand-up guy. Like sometimes whenever I got a chance to talk to him, for whatever reason I was visiting the office, I just got a chance to say hello, and he just seemed so pleasant and cheerful. I even remember one time when we were going I got a chance to go with him somewhere for the weekend. Like, it was part of this school program thing. It was a horseback thing. We got to go to this farm area where we actually got to bunk bed with all the other students. We got to do all sorts of things. But the some of the most memorable things was when I got to ride on horseback and when I got to ride in um, this truck with hay in one of the I don't know, one of the back seats, whatever it's called. And I actually remember I got to mess around with him in that he would lay some hay onto me and I would throw some hay into his face. They even got some pictures of it. And he was just carrying me around at some point. Like, he was just messing around with me, and he was just so cool. And I just wish I could remember so many other great experiences I had with Mr. Malik. Eventually, he retired, and the vice principal had to take over for him, Principal Fitzpatrick. And from what I remember, he was okay. I didn't really have much of a connection with him, but Principal Malik, he was just so nice, and he was just one of the better elements of that school. I even got to see him one time after he retired. He was coaching a soccer team. I'm not sure what it is. Oh my God, I wonder where the hell is he right now? If I could just get a chance to tell him, I've been through so much since I last saw him, and it was just really nice getting to interact with Mr. Malik. And you know what? I can't really say for certain that Locke School is still a horrible school even to this day because it was my generation, and hopefully this newer generation is fairly far different from the one that I was a part of. Maybe the new students there are a lot more nicer, they're a lot better, and as far as I know, the area hasn't had any problem with graffiti. Like, I haven't heard about any really bad news about the school in recent years. So, despite everything with Miss Pope and the crappy students that I had to put up with, I hope this new generation of Locke School is treating itself well. Not just the students, but the faculty as well. I hope they're doing a lot better than when I was a kid, going to that school and all the bad experiences I had there. So it wasn't until at the end of seventh grade where mom finally figured that I probably shouldn't go there anymore. And that was actually around the time that we moved over into Franklin Park, where I got that house with Josh and Bob. And the school that I went through for all of eighth grade was Manheim Middle School, and it was fantastic. It was everything that I ever wanted out of a school experience. It was a place where I had to go and learn things, but I also did a lot of fun stuff while I was there too, and I actually enjoyed myself while I was there. I mean, there were so many things going on in that school that I never thought would be in a school. Gym class had this dancing game where we literally just got to play a video game. I had a lot of fun doing that. I also played some badminton while I was there, along with some volleyball, and that was awesome. There was this art class where I got to make all of these sculptures out of clay and stuff like that. I made a container, I made a vase, I made the initials to my name, and I even got to do something special for Christmas. I got to make a Grinch, the one that you can hang on your tree. I literally got to make a Grinch out of molding clay. The only thing is that it ended up falling on the ground and the foot broke. That sucked shit. There was this science class where we did something on global warming, and one of the things that our teacher did was we watched a clip of Futurama. I didn't recognize the show at the time, and it was featuring global warming, whatever that thing was, and the teacher tasked us with naming 3 things that are not true about global warming. And my answers were completely based on the cartoon. Like, there's no such thing as ice cream that melts in 5 seconds. There's no such thing as giant talking sun rays. And there's no such thing as giant ice cubes. I don't know why the fuck I decided to make that my response at the time. I was just being dumb. And my science teacher actually liked the answers that I gave. She didn't see it as me trying to be funny in a sense of not paying attention in school, and she didn't see it as me trying to be a smart aleck. She legitimately enjoyed what I had to say. That was really nice of her. There was also this history teacher that told us a pretty good joke regarding the British losing the American Revolution. I probably shouldn't do that right now. And a really great thing that he did, it showed his dedication to making sure that his students were learning. He told the entire school that if the student body got at least a B plus on it involved history. I'm not sure exactly what the name of it is, but he told us if all of us got at least a B plus in total for this very special test that would decide whether or not we graduate to high school, he would come to school in a dress. And he made good on his promise, because when we saw our grades and we saw that all the student body together got a B plus, he showed up in a dress. And he is literally the best teacher ever for that. He really is. We were all just having so much fun seeing him walk around in the dress, and he told us that he didn't care. He was just glad that everyone got a good grade for the test, and he was able to motivate them to do so. That was really cool. It really was. And there were also a lot of other things that I liked about the school, too. There was this passport day where all of the teachers were dressing up in these uniforms. Like, we literally went around the school collecting stamps from different rooms. And by the end of the day, we compared stamps, and we were all really interested seeing what we got. I always had enough time after lunch to stop into the office so that I could just sit there and be in a quiet place where I can draw something. And nobody cared. They didn't mind that I was sitting there after lunch just waiting for the bell to ring for us to go to our next class. And I shit you not, there was an after-school club that was literally named the Simpsons Club. I immediately signed up for it when I found out about it. It was such an amazing after-school program.
all of us who were interested in The Simpsons just got together in this classroom, and we would watch episodes of The Simpsons. We would play video games from The Simpsons. We would talk about The Simpsons. We would play board games. We would play these electronic Simpsons games. We would even have pizza. I just loved every single bit of it. And there was even this one week when we went to the program where they were handing out prizes, and I ended up winning a What Would Homer Do electronic trivia game. And I was just such a big fan of The Simpsons around the time I was going to that club. And I just loved it so much, just getting to interact with other Simpsons fans, watching episodes, eating pizza. What I wouldn't give to just have another day like that, where I get together with a bunch of Simpsons fans and we do a bunch of nerdy Simpsons stuff while we eat pizza. That was great. But the best part about Manheim Middle was that every single person I ever met at that school was pleasant. Every single one of my classmates were very nice, and they would work with me, they would talk with me. They were always very optimistic to see me just walking around the hallways, and the teachers were the same way. Not a single one of them came across as loud or reprimanding or disrespectful or short-tempered, strict or harsh. All they did was their job. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They taught the class things, they educated us, they made sure that we were paying appropriate attention, and they didn't bother us about anything else. There was this one time that I got into a little conflict with one of the teachers because I was late to class because I had to go to the bathroom before the bell rang. But aside from that, I never had any bad experiences with any of the teachers. After all the bullshit I went through at Locke School, I was thinking to myself, oh my god, is this what school is supposed to be like? You go there to learn things, but you can also enjoy yourself while you're there. None of the students were problematic or bullies. None of the teachers were harsh or misunderstanding. As far as I remember, I had no problems with any people at Manheim Middle School. Sometimes I would just think, why couldn't I get here earlier? Why didn't we move to this area sooner? I mean, it was only 2 years that I missed, but considering that it was Locke School that I was leaving behind, I just felt like I was missing out on so much. And then I had to go to high school, which is something that I'll have to talk about later because this video is already so long. I know, I'm sorry I have to end this one so ambiguously, but it's the best that I can do for right now because I've already talked so much about before high school, and I don't want this video to be so long because it's already been about 40 minutes. So next time I will talk about high school and a couple of schools that I went to afterwards, which turned out to be a very crappy time, as I will explain to you. So, until next time, take care of yourselves. MisAnthro Pony, over and out.